Herod, the ruler, heard about all these things that were happening. He was confused because some people said, "John the Baptizer has risen from death." Others said, "Elijah has come to us." And some others said, "One of the prophets from long ago has risen from death." Herod said, "I cut off John's head. So who is this man I hear these things about?" Herod continued trying to see Jesus. King Herod heard about Jesus because Jesus was now famous. Some people said, "He is John the Baptizer. He must have risen from death, and that is why he can do these miracles." Other people said, "He is Elijah," and others said, "He is a prophet. He is like the prophets who lived long ago." Herod heard these things about Jesus. He said, "I killed John by cutting off his head. Now he has been raised from death." Herod himself had ordered his soldiers to arrest John and put him in prison. Herod did this to please his wife Herodias. She had been married to Herod's brother Philip, but then Herod married her. John told Herod, "It is not right for you to be married to your brother's wife." So Herodias hated John. She wanted him dead, but she was not able to persuade Herod to kill him. Herod was afraid to kill John because he knew that he was a good and holy man. So he protected him. He liked listening to John, although what John said left him with so many questions. Then the right time came for Herodias to cause John's death. It happened on Herod's birthday. Herod gave a dinner party for the most important government leaders, the commanders of his army, and the most important people in Galilee. The daughter of Herodias came to the party and danced. When she danced, Herod and the people eating with him were very pleased. So King Herod said to the girl, "I will give you anything you want." He promised her, "Anything you ask for, I will give to you, even half of my kingdom." The girl went to her mother and asked, "What should I ask King Herod to give me?" Her mother answered, "Ask for the head of John the Baptizer." So right then the girl went back in to the king. She said to him, "Please give me the head of John the Baptizer. Bring it to me now on a plate." King Herod was very sad, but he didn't want to break the promise he had made to her in front of his guest. So he sent a soldier to cut off John's head and bring it to him. The soldier went and cut off John's head in the prison. He brought the head back on a plate and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. John's followers heard about what happened, so they came and got John's body and put it in a tomb. About that time, Herod, the ruler of Galilee, heard what the people were saying about Jesus. So he said to his servants, "This man is really John the Baptizer. He must have risen from death, and that is why he could do these miracles." Before this time, Herod had arrested John. He had him chained and put in prison. He arrested John because of Herodias, the wife of Philip, Herod's brother. John had told him, "It is not right for you to be married to Herodias." Herod wanted to kill him, but he was afraid of the people. They believed that John was a prophet. On Herod's birthday, the daughter of Herodias danced for him and his group. Herod was very pleased with her. So he promised that he would give her anything she wanted. Herodias told her daughter what to ask for. So she said to Herod, "Give me the head of John the Baptizer here on this plate." King Herod was very sad, but he had promised to give the daughter anything she wanted, and the people eating with Herod had heard his promise. So he ordered what she asked to be done. He sent men to the prison, where they cut off John's head. And the men brought John's head on a plate and gave it to the girl. Then she took the head to her mother Herodias. John's followers came and got his body and buried it. Then they went and told Jesus what happened. When Jesus heard what happened to John, he left in a boat. He went alone to a place where no one lived. But the people heard that Jesus had left. So they left their towns and followed him. They went by land to the same place he went. When Jesus got out of the boat, he saw a large crowd of people. He felt sorry for them, and he healed the ones who were sick. Late that afternoon, the followers came to Jesus and said, "No one lives in this place, and it is already late. "Send the people away so they can go to the towns and buy food for themselves." Jesus said, "The people don't need to go away. You give them some food to eat." The followers answered, "But we have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." Jesus said, "Bring the bread and the fish to me." Then he told the people to sit down on grass. He took the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish. He looked into the sky and thanked God for the food. Then he broke the bread into pieces, which he gave to the followers, and they gave the food to the people. Everyone ate until they were full. When they finished eating, the followers filled 12 baskets with the pieces of food that were not eaten. There were about 5,000 men there who ate. There were also women and children who ate. The apostles Jesus had sent out came back to him. They gathered around him and told him about all they had done and taught. Jesus and his followers were in a very busy place. There were so many people that he and his followers did not even have time to eat. He said to them, "Come with me. We will go to a quiet place to be alone. There, we will get some rest." So Jesus and his followers went away alone. They went in a boat to a place where no one lived. But many people saw them leave and knew who they were. So people from every town ran to the place where they were going and got there before Jesus. As Jesus stepped out of the boat, he saw a large crowd waiting. He felt sorry for them because they were like sheep without a shepherd to care for them. So he taught the people many things. It was now very late in the day. Jesus' followers came to him and said, "No one lives around here, and it is already very late. So send the people away. They need to go to the farms and towns around here to buy some food to eat." But Jesus answered, "You give them some food to eat." They said to Jesus, "We can't buy enough bread to feed all these people. We would all have to work a month to earn enough to buy that much bread." Jesus asked them, "How many loaves of bread do you have now? Go and see." They counted their loaves of bread. They came to Jesus and said, "We have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." Then Jesus said to them, "Tell everyone to sit in groups on the green grass." So all the people sat in groups. There were about 50 or 100 people in each group. Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fish. He looked up to the sky and thanked God for the food. Then he broke the bread into pieces, which he gave to his followers to distribute to the people. Then he divided the 2 fish among everyone there. They all ate until they were full. After they finished eating, the followers filled 12 baskets with the pieces of bread and fish that were left. There were about 5,000 men there who ate. When the apostles came back, they told Jesus what they had done on their trip. Then he took them away to a town called Bethsaida. There, he and his apostles could be alone together. But the people learned where Jesus went and followed him. He welcomed them and talked with them about God's kingdom. He healed the people who were sick. Late in the afternoon, the 12 apostles came to Jesus and said, "No one lives in this place. Send the people away. They need to find food and places to sleep in the farms and towns around here." But Jesus said to the apostles, "You give them something to eat." They said, "We have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Do you want us to go buy food for all these people? There are too many." There were about 5,000 men there. Jesus said to his followers, "Tell the people to sit in groups of about 50 people." So the followers did this, and everyone sat down. Then Jesus took the 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. He looked up into the sky and thanked God for the food. Then he broke it into pieces, which he gave to the followers to give to the people. They all ate until they were full, and there was a lot of food left. 12 baskets were filled with the pieces of food that were not eaten. Later, Jesus went across Lake Galilee, also known as Lake Tiberias. A great crowd of people followed him because they saw the miraculous signs he did in healing the sick. Jesus went up on the side of the hill and sat there with his followers. It was almost the time for the Jewish Passover festival. Jesus looked up and saw a crowd of people coming toward him. He said to Philip, "Where can we buy enough bread for all these people to eat?" He asked Philip this question to test him. Jesus already knew what he planned to do. Philip answered, "We would all have to work a month to buy enough bread for each person here to have only a little piece." Another follower there was Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter. Andrew said, "Here is a boy with 5 loaves of barley bread and 2 little fish. But that is not enough for so many people." Jesus said, "Tell everyone to sit down." This was a place with a lot of grass, and about 5,000 men sat down there. Jesus took the loaves of bread and gave thanks for them. Then he gave them to the people who were waiting to eat. He did the same with the fish. He gave them as much as they wanted. They all had plenty to eat. When they finished, Jesus said to his followers, "Gather the pieces of fish and bread that were not eaten. Don't waste anything." So they gathered up the pieces that were left. The people had started eating with only 5 loaves of barley bread. But the followers filled 12 large baskets with the pieces of food that were left. The people saw this miraculous sign that Jesus did and said, "He must be the prophet who is coming into the world." Jesus knew that the people planned to come get him and make him their king. So he left and went into the hills alone. Then Jesus told the followers to get into the boat. He told them to go to the other side of the lake, to Bethsaida. He said he would come later. He stayed there to tell everyone they could go home. After he said goodbye to them, he went up into the hills to pray. That night, the boat was still in the middle of the lake. Jesus was alone on land. He saw the boat far away on the lake, and he saw the followers working hard to row the boat. The wind was blowing against them. Sometime between 3 and 6 o'clock in the morning, Jesus went out to the boat, walking on the water. He continued walking until he was almost past the boat. But the followers saw Jesus walking on the water. They thought he was a ghost, and they started screaming. It scared them all to see him. But he spoke to them and said, "Don't worry, it's me. Don't be afraid." When he got into the boat with the followers, the wind stopped. The followers were completely amazed. They could not believe what happened. It was like the miracle he did with the bread. They still didn't understand what that meant. Then Jesus made the followers get into the boat. He told them to go to the other side of the lake. He said he would come later. He stayed there to tell everyone they could go home. After Jesus said goodbye to the people, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. It was late, and he was there alone. By this time, the boat was already a long way from shore. Since the wind was blowing against it, the boat was having trouble because of the waves. Between 3 and 6 o'clock in the morning, Jesus' followers were still in the boat. Jesus came to them. He was walking on the water. When they saw him walking on the water, it scared them. "It's a ghost!" they said, screaming in fear. But Jesus quickly spoke to them. He said, "Don't worry, it's me. Don't be afraid." Peter said, "Lord, if that is really you, tell me to come to you on the water." Jesus said, "Come, Peter." Then Peter left the boat and walked on the water to Jesus. But while Peter was walking on the water, he saw the wind and the waves. He was afraid and began sinking into the water. He shouted, "Lord, save me!" Then Jesus caught Peter with his hand. He said, "Your faith is small. Why did you doubt?" After Peter and Jesus were in the boat, the wind stopped. Then the followers in the boat worshiped Jesus and said, "You really are the Son of God." That evening, Jesus' followers went down to the lake. It was dark now, and Jesus had not yet come back to them. They got into a boat and started going across the lake to Capernaum. The wind was blowing very hard. The waves on the lake were becoming bigger. They rowed the boat about 3 or 4 miles. Then they saw Jesus. He was walking on the water, coming to the boat, and they were afraid. But he said to them, "Don't be afraid. It's me." When he said this, they were glad to take him into the boat, and then the boat reached the shore at the place they wanted to go. Jesus and his followers went across the lake and came to the shore at Gennesaret. They tied the boat there. When they were out of the boat, the people there saw Jesus. They knew who he was, so they ran to tell others throughout that area. They brought sick people on mats to every place Jesus went. Jesus went into towns, cities, and farms around that area. In every place he went, the people brought sick people to the marketplaces. They begged him to let them touch any part of his coat, and all those who touched him were healed. After they crossed the lake, they came to the shore of Gennesaret. Some men there saw Jesus and knew who he was, so they sent word to the other people throughout that area that Jesus had come. The people brought all their sick people to him. They begged Jesus to let them only touch the edge of his coat to be healed, and all the sick people who touched his coat were healed.